Hey guys, so I'm doing this video today to help you all with dyeing your hair. Clearly, given my roots, I'm not a natural blonde. So I just wanted to show you this growth so you could see where I'm coming from in terms of my starting color. So you can see I'm about a level 4, which is a pretty common color in terms of brunettes. It's not a chestnut. It's not, any of the nicer browns that people end up dyeing their hair. It's just that natural, basic, medium to dark brown that most of the population seems to have. It seems to be a dominant trait, that color. So I feel like this will be helpful for most of you because I'm guessing most of you are about the same natural color that I am. So here's how I'm able to get it to this kind of lift. Now, as you can see, or maybe you can't see, but this is a really nice blonde. And what I've done is I've toned it, and I'll show you how I did that. You can also see just how long it is. So I don't have the breakage that you would expect from going up so many levels. If you can see that. It still has a lot of its natural luster. It's still just as soft as it is naturally. So the method I'm going to show you today, when I say isn't that damaging, it's the most accurate that I can say. I mean, being exposed to sunlight is damage. There's all kinds of damage. So what I'm going to focus on is telling you, not damage or no damage, because it will be done regardless, UV rays or damage. But basically here is the end result, the end product. You can see I'm easily putting a brush through it. I haven't washed this hair in days. So it's not even freshly washed. We'd say, oh, well, that's just your conditioner. It's not. It needs to get washed today, which is why I'm doing my roots today. And I have let them go for a really long time. So this isn't straw by any means. This hair isn't a tangled, disgusting mess because of all the damage. It's not. So I would call this a very healthy damage. You can see that. Very healthy damage. So because it's clearly not its natural color, it's been damaged. So for this kind of result, you're going to need a couple of products, but they're all within the same company line, and you can get them all at Sally's. So first you're going to need your bleach. Now, for all those videos online that are saying, oh, don't use bleach or blah, 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 lift is lift. Lift is lift, sorry. Doesn't matter what you're using to get the lift. Lift is still the opening up and removal of the natural color. So it is damage. So don't be so weird about not using bleach, because bleach is going to be your friend if you want to achieve this color. If you're going to try to use lemon juice and some other stuff, I mean, you're just going to get a horrid color, and you're not even going to get close to this. Not even close. So just be realistic in what your expectations are going to be. If you want like 7 levels of lift, from a 4 to a 9, I think this is pretty close to a 10. Some of these are 10s. Some of these are probably white. But if you want that amount of lift, you're going to need bleach to do it effectively. There's different kinds of bleach, so don't use the cheapest crap you can find. So this is what I'm using. The glare might make it pretty impossible, but basically this is more than just bleach. It has also been cut in with some oils. This is coconut oil. It doesn't matter what oil, your hair doesn't care. It's just like making biscuits. You're going to cut in the fat to get the flaky texture. Well, with bleach, if you cut in the fat with the bleach, it doesn't make it as harsh on the hair while still getting the same lift. So I can't promise you'll get these results if you go get the cheapest bleach that's just straight powder bleach, nothing else to it. I can't promise it. So I can only promise a product that I've used, and that's this. I use Ion. I never use Wella because Wella tests on animals, which is pretty awful. And Ion does not. So it's an excellent product, a great competitor, and the one to pick up. And that's what I use. So this is the one, it's a dust-free formula, powder lightener, and it's the gardenia coconut oil. There's another one. It really doesn't matter. I've used them all. You just want to use the one that has some conditioning agents to assist. So you'll need your bleach. You'll need a developer. I'll probably just post a photo, but you'll need a 20 developer. I'm going to say that again. You're going to need a 20, not a 30, not a 40. Don't ever pick up a 50. You are going to need a 20. A 20 for this. 20. Don't go higher. So developers is where people mess up. All these other videos are making it sound like bleach is the bad guy. Developers peroxide, it can be the bad guy too. Even when you put it on a wound, it's killing your healthy cells as well as the bad stuff. So peroxide is not like a nice thing on its own either. Yes, it will give you blonde, but don't see it as like the good guy versus the bad guy, because that's just not true at all. This is a chemical process, and we need to use what gives us the best result in combination. So you're going to need a bleach and a developer. The developers are, if you can think of them as the strength and the time stamping. So bleach is going to pretty much be consistent, but the developers are what allow you to change the amount of time it takes, which is the developing time. So if you go with a 30, this is going to lift really fast. Now, a side note, I do have fine hair. Obviously, you can see that. It is not thick. No one is fooled into thinking my hair is thick. It's not thick. It is fine. I have the same amount of hair follicles. It's just the actual strand itself is super tiny. And all that means is that it allows for developer and bleach to penetrate really quickly because it has less surface area to get through. So my hair, fine hair, a 30 developer will lift to this in 8-10 minutes. Like, it is like crazy fast. So if your hair is thick, my mother has beautiful thick hair. So it's not even an ethnicity thing. Redheads, natural redheads can have really thick hair. So it doesn't matter what color you are in terms of your skin. You know what hair type you are. So fine hair, 30 is just going to be crazy fast time. You're not going to be done doing the rest of your head. So you don't want to use the 30. If you have naturally thick hair and you know what that is, I don't have to describe it to you. You just know. You've used products. You know your hair better than anyone else. So at your discretion, if you want to use a 30, I would test something in the back and just try that out. But otherwise, without knowing you personally, I'm going to stress that you stick to a 20 developer. Now, here's why. So in my case, a 30 is crazy fast. I will still be doing the roots on my head while the ones in the back are turning pure white, which is not good because that's how you get breakage. It's going to start falling out. A 20 developer takes that 8-minute to 10-minute clock time and brings it out to more like what you expect from hair dye to like 20 minutes, which is completely manageable. So that means I have plenty of time to do my whole head and then set my timer and check on it. So it's much more leisurely and I have less risk of over-processing. Over-processing is where people mess up. Could you imagine if I did a 40? No, please don't. It would be awful. So don't, when I say use a 20 developer, please trust me. I know you're going to think it's not strong enough. You're just going to get more time. It's cool. Just let it ride. Just let it sit. Give it time. Don't worry about how slow, because it's not going to be. The key here is you never want to overdo it. People do the same thing with cooking. They put their heat way too high and they end up burning it. Don't burn your hair, okay? Don't turn it up so high that it's hard to manage and stay on top of. Just low and slow. Just go low. You don't want to go less than a 20 because once you get down to a 10 developer, you're no longer lifting. So a 20 developer is actually the lowest you can go and still get lift. But as you can see, it works beautifully. I get all the lift I want and need from the lowest level, which is a 20. The other beauty to using a 20, let's be realistic, there's going to be overlap. So when I'm painting this line here and I'm going with my brush, am I going to be within like a millimeter of this other one? Probably not. Odds are I'm going to overlap a little bit. It's just reality. Even if I'm so careful I put this one down, just the weight and the squishing might actually cause some overlapping. Having a 20, old 20, on top of a new 20, which is the overlap, still gives me the 40, and my hair isn't going to fall out. So by going with the 20, I'm also allowing myself for future hair growth without losing length. So another thing to think about, if you go with a 30, keep that in mind that you're probably not going to get really long blonde hair because it's going to break before it reaches the length, because all the overlap over time is going to cause it to break. So another reason to stick to a 20, and please trust me on this, do a 20. So 20 developer with your conditioning bleach. And then you're also going to mix in, per instructions, Ion has a step 1. It's the same as Olaplex. So if you've ever used Olaplex, you know how that works. The step 1, the packaging tells you it's tiny. It's like you're going to put just a couple of drops. But it's not conditioning like this is conditioning. It's different. Again, back to chemicals and molecular bonds. It's helping with the bonding between the proteins in the hair and keeping them bonded, so you help prevent any unnecessary damage that would happen. I'm not saying that if you don't use it, your hair will fall out. That's not true either. I'm going for optimal. I'm going for the best result I can get. And so for the best result, you're going to have to choose the best products. So you're going to do the step 1, you're going to add to it. So I believe the instruction is to mix your powder bleach. It's a 1-to-2 with your developer. The great thing about bleach is it's not finicky. It's not like baking a cake where if you're off your leavening, then you'll have a flat cake instead of a fluffy one. This is very forgiving. So you're going to start with your ratio, but if you feel like the mix is too loose, too watery, or you feel like it's too thick, bleach really allows you to add and add more and help with the texture. And it's still going to give you the same result. So it's a very, very user-friendly product in that you can really play with this and not get into too much trouble when it comes to consistency. I do like mine a little more on the runny side, just because bleach is formulated to not run. Unlike hair dye, which will run because it's meant to, saturate and dye all of your hair. Bleach is the opposite because it's often used for frosting and highlighting and being very precise in where you're placing it. So for that reason, the manufacturers have formulated it to not run. So I tend to make mine a little on the watery side with my developer, so it's easier for application. The point is to be very generous in your application. You don't want to be sparse. You want to really lay it on thick. Not all over the place, but in the place you want it, you want to be generous with your application. So for my normal upkeep, it's only about 1.5 scoops to 3 ounces of developer, but I've really let this go because life has happened really hard to me. And I've let these roots grow out a lot, and I have a solid inch of growth. So I'm going to do 2 scoops to 4 ounces to do my whole head. It's okay if you have extra because I often touch up my brows. Because once I lighten this up, my brows, even though they're brown, will look black, which is not a good look. So any extra you have left over, that's where you find other places to put it. So I put it on my eyebrows, and don't worry about any excess. You just don't ever want to fall short on product, because that's how you will get this kind of nice blonde with like what appears to be a black smudge or speck in it because you weren't generous. So don't worry about that. Always have more than enough rather than not enough. So that's your lightening. So you have your nice bleach, you have your low level 20 developer, mix that up in your bowl, add in your step 1 or your Olaplex, whatever you're doing, and then you put it on your hair. You're going to, go line by line, try and do thin, and take your time because you have a 20. Once it's on, because I have so much growth, I'm actually going to show you. I have this hood. It's either eBay or Amazon. I don't know. You can get it really cheap. But here it's just like a hood that you after you're all done, you put it on, hook it up to your blow dryer. I'm going to need it this time because this amount of growth, what you don't want are hot roots where the lower half is white and then the upper half hasn't developed that far yet, because that will happen. So if you have long roots like I do, you're going to need to add heat, because a big part of a chemical reaction is the heat aspect. So you're going to need warmth. The warmth from your head will not reach far enough to radiate up this high. It's just not realistic. It'll go about halfway. So if I don't want hot roots, which I don't, I'm going to wear this hood and be hooked up to my blow dryer to have even heat, which is what they do at a salon. So you're lightening your hair, and you want to set your phone timer or whatever you have to start at 10 minutes and then start checking. When you're checking, another reason having excess is nice. You want to wipe an area to really look at it, because having the white bleach over it can be deceiving as to how light or dark it is. Wipe it with a paper towel, a little spot, and really check that color, and then go dip back into your extra, put it back on. The beauty about bleach is it will keep processing for 35 minutes, which is astronomical. So you have plenty of time to check, to patch check, to fix, because you're not going to need 35 minutes. You're probably at most going to need 20 minutes of time. So even after 20 minutes, if you think you're done and you shower and you check and you're like, oh, I totally missed a spot right here, it's good, because your bleach that you already mixed is still working. If you did 20 minutes, for another 10 to 15, depending on how quick you were with your application. So go ahead, put some more on, spot check it, give it another 5, another 8, however long it needs to lift, and you can fix it. So again, be generous with your bleach. Don't be stingy, because it will come back to get you. You might actually need that little bit extra that you wish you had mixed up. So it's always nice to have if you want to do good application, especially when you're doing it to yourself. Hard to see the back of your head, all that good stuff. So once you've rinsed everything out, you want to rinse and shampoo. You want to make sure you get all of the bleach out when you're done processing. At that stage, you're going to have that really awful chicky fuzz yellow that everyone can't stand, and that's what this is for. So I get the modern beige. I find it's a beautiful blonde. They have snow cap and all these others, but my complexion, doing white hair is just kind of gross. I can't. This footage isn't really showing it, but modern beige has a touch of pink. It doesn't look like pastel pink. No one looks at my hair and says, oh, I love your pink hair. It doesn't look pink. It's a lot like skin tone. It has an undertone. So it will give it a pink undertone, which for my complexion is very pretty. It adds a warmth. It's like a blush. So I don't look so washed out and so pale, and I don't end up looking like sickly, because I have, I can't use snow capped or any of those other ones that have the violets. A cool tone will just wash me right out. If you have very warm toned skin, it might look really cool on you. So I'm not deterring you. But if you're a light complexion like I am, you might want to try the modern beige. I think you'll really like it. It's a very pretty color. And it is what it says. It's beige. It's a very pretty sandy blonde that, instead of going on the yellow side for warmth, instead of being golden, it goes on the pink side for warmth. So if you can imagine that, it's more like a toned down sandy brown. Anyway, it's a very pretty color. So modern beige, very pretty. Now this is a toner, so you're done lifting. This isn't going to lighten your hair. All we're doing is depositing. So to that yellow chicky fuzz, we need to add this to it to mix and give us the color we want. This is what you will use with a 10 developer. A 10 is just deposit. It's not going to lighten or do any of that. By the way, box color actually uses a 20 developer as well. Fun fact. So hair dye, box dye does that. The difference is box dye isn't bleach. So this is what's doing the magic. This is what's giving you this. Okay. That's why box dye does not lift from this to this. It will give me a really dark caramel at most if I use like the super high lift, but bleach just does it. It does the magic. It gives you that lift. So no more damaging than regular box hair dye. It's just a 20 developer. So you've lightened your hair, you've washed, shampooed. You want to towel dry. I actually like to, with a blow dryer, dry my roots because that's all I'm doing anyway, because I want as much of the water out so my hair is a sponge to soak as much of this in as it can. So I'm not saying to blow dry all of your hair after you've washed it. You don't have to. Just flip your head upside down and blow dry the roots where you're going to be putting this, because that's where you want it to be dry. So a 1-to-1. So 1 ounce to 1 ounce. This is a 2 ounce bottle or tube. Normally I use half of this for this much root. Plus I'm probably going to have some overlap. I'm going to have probably about that much of toning. So I'm going to use up this whole thing. There will be a lot of extra, but like I said before, I'm going to find places to put the extra, like my eyebrows. I'm going to tone my brows so I don't have like crazy yellow brows. They're going to be a nice beigey blonde too. And then I'll go through in any other like darker spots. Like for some reason, the back of your head doesn't seem to lighten as much as the front. So I might go picking through my hair and finding spots. It's just deposit, so it's not going to hurt anything. So 1 ounce to 1 ounce, or in my case, this time, this whole tube with 2 ounces of a 10 developer. If you go any less than a 10, you're just not, again, with the opening up of the hair, you're just not going to get as much of a deposit. So although it isn't enough to lift, it is necessary to use a 10 to get that penetration of color with this. And this is going to work just like a box dye. I let it go for the full time that allows, and it does make a difference. Just like hair dye, if you don't give it the full processing time, you're not going to get the right color. It's going to be a much more muted color. And when it comes to toner, I do not want any of that leftover chicky fuzz yellow. So I think the max, it's 35 minutes. I have notes because I forget everything. I don't trust my brain to details like that. It's a mono processor. I think that's a lot to ask. That's what programs and machines and papers for. So I write it all down. But full time with this, 35 minutes. And after I do all of it, and then you can do a deep conditioning treatment if you want after that. Because at this point, you really should not be washing your hair. After you put this toner on, you don't want to wash it. If you can, a couple of days. For me and my hair type, lightening it is actually better. My virgin hair gets super greasy really fast, whereas this just like soaks it right in and takes it in like it's nothing. So I can easily go for 3 days with like fresh bleached roots, and you'd never know. It's actually good for my hair because it's just soaking it right in. So don't be freaked out if you have virgin hair right now and you're like, that's gross. You're going to look so oily and disgusting. Not when it's blonde like this. It's really not. So after you do this treatment, you really want to let it kind of sit and soak. And then you want your own natural oils. Or like I said, if you want to do a hot oil or deep conditioning treatment, you can do that too. But you want your own natural oils to, in a way, seal it in. And really let it stay for a couple of days before you wash it again. So, so that's it. This, you're going to rinse, shampoo, and deep condition out, and then you're done for a couple of days. So that's it. So I'm going to show you guys the final result so you can see what it looks like. But essentially, this is how I keep my hair healthy while doing the bleach blonde look. So hope this was helpful and you guys enjoyed. Enjoy the reveal.